welcome to this very special conversation that we'll be having with one of the foremost thinkers on AI. Now, as world witnesses multiple conflicts and turmoil from Russia to Ukraine to Israel, Iran, and of course the latest that's happening in Bangladesh. It's the role of technology in stoking these fault lines that is now coming to fore. Now, what does this mean for the future? What does this mean for conflicts going forward, especially since AI is now all pervasive? To discuss this and more, Professor Nick Bostrom joins us live on the show. Professor Bostrom, thank you so much for taking out the time and speaking to NDTV. So my first question to you, that are we underestimating the impact that AI can have or is having when it comes to stoking some of these fault lines around the world?
I think sort of social media technology that we've had for a while is now an important shaper of public opinion and political dynamics around the world. I think AI still is in the early innings here. It hasn't yet had a huge impact on these political dynamics, other than insofar as it fuels these social platforms with content filtering and recommendation engines.
All right. But going forward, how do you see AI impacting the way wars will be fought? And will it make every conflict deadly, maybe asymmetrical, given that there's now going to be AI in play?
The biggest impacts of AI still lie ahead of us. And AI is not a static thing. It's increasing in capabilities month by month. In war, I think we will see early applications with autonomous drones. So right now you have in Ukraine a lot of drones flying around, but they're operated by some human who is steering them. I think the next generation of drone warfare will have autonomous drones that have the ability to recognize and engage targets, even without a radio link to a human operator. I think AI will also have huge applications in surveillance for domestic control, and where the applications could be positive for law enforcement, but also huge applications in totalitarian context, where you will be able to do much more fine-grained screening of what people's political opinions are, and then sort of deliver customized messages or fine-tune the sort of public discourse using AI tools.
Professor Bostrom, you've been at the forefront of writing about the risks that humanity faces from AI. You've been saying that for over a decade. Now, as AI gets more mainstream, do you think these risks are now exacerbated?
I think so far the benefits far outweigh the risks with the kinds of AI we have today. The real risks, to my mind, lie ahead when we develop AI systems that begin to fully match the generality of human capacities, that become capable of long-term planning. And then eventually when we develop super intelligent artificial intelligences. At that point, I think we are dealing not just with another cool technology, like another, internet or another cloud or mobile internet and stuff like that, but it's really a fundamental game changer, something more akin to the rise of the human species in the first place. And there are major technical challenges in figuring out how to develop scalable methods for AI alignment, such that we will be able to make sure that when we build these systems that ultimately become smarter than any human, that we can still steer them so that they are actually like helping to promote human welfare and don't become an antagonistic force.
Okay, now how does this impact countries like India, where we have a very large workforce? We need to create jobs, so we cannot have all jobs being automated by AI. But how do you see the impact on India?
Well, AI is moving so fast that it's really hard to know what the future will look like even 5 years ahead. What we've seen so far is AI having an impact slightly different from earlier technological advances. Traditionally, it has often been manual work that has been the first to be automated, right? With tractors and various agricultural machines and robots in factories. The current generation of AI actually has its most applications with white collar work. So simple research assistant tasks, for example. You can now use these large language models to do a pretty good job at many of those tasks. I think maybe call centers will be like another imminent era of automation. But then from there, it will broaden out. And I think eventually, my view is ultimately all human jobs will become automatable. One thing I would say for a country like India is that if AI really is going to be this prime driver of the future, you'd want to have some domestic capacity, some data centers on Indian soil running these, able to run and train these large AI systems, the expertise, some of the supply chain. I think it will increasingly become not just an economic factor, but also a factor for geopolitical influence, the degree to which a country is kind of participating in this AI revolution.
And since AI is not really a single country issue, do you think global regulation is the best way that governments don't fall behind the tech curve?
I think ultimately it will require global approaches. I don't think that's a solution to the speed problem, because if anything, global processes are even slower than national governmental processes. But it is true that ultimately, if we are building artificial general intelligence and even more superintelligence, that's something that concerns all of humanity. If there are risks associated with this transition, all humans around the globe will be exposed to those risks. And it seems only fair then that if things go well, everybody should also have some slice of the upside. And it will be very important to avoid, as far as possible, arms races using AI technologies or competitive technology races that are so intense that anybody who takes any extra precautions or who focuses on safety just immediately falls behind the frontier. That would be the way to maximize risk. And we will need a more sort of harmonious and cooperative, I think, international approach to this to have the best chances of a good future.
What about superintelligence? Is it a bad thing, especially because it seems like it could solve everything from climate change to major diseases?
Well, I wish I knew. I think if both are real possibilities given our current state of limited knowledge, I think if things go well, it could be not just a good thing, but the best thing that we have ever done. In as much as artificial general intelligence is not just a solution to a specific problem, it's like a general capability of solving a huge range of different problems. So you mentioned the climate, is one area. Another is medicine, where there's like so many horrible diseases and causes of suffering that we don't currently know how to prevent. But if you had super intelligent medical researchers who could develop new cures and then customize that for the individual patients, huge applications. Also just for general economic growth. When we're talking about automation, we often focus on, well, then these people will be unemployed, but it also means that there is a lot more wealth generated. The government could, earn greater revenues through taxes. People, the prices of goods would come down, and it could really fuel enormous wealth creation as well. And in many other areas also, entertainment, science, the applications are so manifold that if we get this right, it really could be the best thing that ever happened to humanity.
Right. Let's see how that pans out. But in the immediate, when you talk about the times that we live in, whether it's the Russia-Ukraine war, whether it's the almost certain Israel-Iran conflict that is going to escalate, how do you see that impacting the present and the future as far as AI and its implications and apps are concerned?
I think it's certainly interesting times that we are living in. I feel that we are in a transitional era, that the current state is not going to necessarily last that much longer. Now, whether what comes after that will be better or worse is very hard to tell. But I do think that the current human condition, as we know it, is likely not to last for that much longer. I think kids growing up today will not die in the same kind of world that we are currently seeing. Like, I think the AI transition is only one, but a major thing that I think will create, like, maybe upend the game board in various ways. So It's really exciting and interesting and fascinating and a bit scary as well, but exciting to be alive at this moment and witness this fundamental transformation unfolding.
All right, Professor Bostrom, thanks so much for taking out the time and speaking to NDTV on how AI can change our present and most certainly our future. Thanks so much for that big exclusive interview.